As for today, avoiding the pitfalls of tilt. This is the article that we're reviewing. So let me just put this a bit bigger. Okay, I guess like this it's good enough. This article then it's by Brian DeMars, and it presents several strategies and rationale for why you should work on improving how you cope with tilt. Okay. Of course, you probably all are aware of what tilt is. It's like there's a very interesting definition in this article. Spectrum. It's like the spectrum of irrational and detrimental behaviors that are derived from frustration. And of course, Magic brings us a lot of frustration. Either it's because we didn't open one of the bombs and all our opponents did in the draft. Either if it's because our removal is not lining up with our opponent's threats. Mana screwed, mana flooded, so there's no shortage on sources for tilt in Magic, for sure. And it's especially relevant when you feel like you prepared a lot for a given tournament, for a given moment, right? You feel like you did everything you could, and then luck is not on your side, so you become frustrated, and that it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You feed your frustration, feeds your bad luck, which feeds your frustration, and so on and so forth. So that's there. You need to have strategies to come out of that loop, right? So why does Magic causes tilt? We were already discussing a bit of that. So Magic has a lot of variance. It's not chess, and even chess, because of how complex it is, for the human brain, it's like everything is deterministic, all the information is on board, but there's still some degree of variance that our early plays induce into the later game. But I'm no expert on chess, so you need to trust me on that. Either way, Magic has a bunch more variance. And it's funny because the variance it's disguised in the game as skill, because I play the land, and you take a lot of actions, and those actions, even though many times are following just the standard procedure of playing Magic, you feel like you get agency. Okay, so even though you're drawing randomly from a deck, you feel like you have agency on the outcome of a game, and that's not always the case, right? By definition, you're drawing from a random pile of cards, which are not all the same, so you get variance either way. Your opponent also gets variance, so there's a lot to consider. And actually, there are a few quotes in here which are really interesting. There's this one: "It is possible to commit mistakes and still lose. That's not weakness. That is life." And that's really that nails to the point, to this point of Magic being quite similar to life in a lot of aspects. And this understanding of variance, it's really important in both fields. Just because in life you might be committed to being the best, or working really long hours on doing something, on developing a specific skill, on delivering a specific, building a tool, whatever, something like that, right? And you might not get it, and you need mechanisms to cope with that. From time to time we discuss this, which is you need to do as much, or if you're targeting a specific goal, like I want to make top 8 in a pro tour or whatever, it's like you cannot there's not a direct correlation between you practicing and being the most prepared that you can be and achieving top 8. It's not like a direct correlation, right? You need to understand that what you need to do is put yourself in the best position possible to get lucky, to essentially for opportunities to come to you. So you need there's a saying, luck finds the bold, right? You need to be bold. You need to put yourself in as many situations as possible, so that one of the doors that you try to open, it will open. So there's a lot of probability in this. So let's move on. There's this phenomenon, of course. It's like a derivation of what we discussed previously. You cannot simply play perfect enough to achieve the outcome you desire. So no perfect correlation. The more you practice, the more you get. That's not exactly how it happens. You need to put yourself in as many situations as possible, so that the more times you practice well, the more likely you are to at some point get successful. That's the key part. Yeah, of course, as we discussed, the principal mechanism in Magic that determines who has what is drawing cards. So there's still things that you can do to manage that, like mulliganing, building your deck, sideboarding according to your opponent's deck, and so on. Another quote that the author uses here, and yeah, I'm atheist, but this is very, very interesting. God grant me serenity to accept things I cannot change, courage to change things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. This is a long way of talking about problems and circumstances. This is a mental model that I evoke a lot, and it's a very liberating one. Once you can, and if you're not familiar, problems are essentially the things that you can influence, that you can do something about, action upon, and circumstances are essentially environmental conditionants to what you can achieve, things that you cannot really change. Let's say that you have a major accident and, well, this is a bit grim, but you have a major accident and you lose control of your legs. Okay, that's a big issue. You will mourn for a bit, but at some point, and this happens to people that face this kind of situation, it's like you learn, you adjust to the circumstances, and instead of that, you start focusing on the problems that you can actually tackle. Okay, but this is applicable to everyone, right? If this COVID, this pandemic, it's a circumstance. So let us adjust. So on my case specifically, and I believe on many others cases, I actually started streaming, and I'm exploring. I'm trying to learn about different things that I could not find the time previously, because we did not have the pandemic. So it's a bit of, if God throws you lemons, make lemonade, right? You adjust to recognize what are the circumstances, what are the problems, and focus your energy on the problems. That is very, very interesting in my opinion, honestly. It might seem simple, but it's really liberating. So yeah, then he breaks down, like, there are some different situations, like you might have no amount of at some points no amount of technical expertise will allow you to overcome whatever your opponent is doing. In other times, that technical expertise will allow you to to go over what your opponent is doing, even if they are having some favorable plays for them. But understanding the distinction is the key part for many aspects. So to avoid tilting, to maximize the chance that you learn from the situations that you can. So what could I have done differently? Maybe in situation A I couldn't. Situation B I could. And that is definitely critical. Another thing is, and I guess this is a bit obvious, everyone tilts, and in their own ways, but everyone goes through these feelings. We are hardwired with a specific kind of response towards frustration, and that is manifested as tilt. Yeah, and the thing about the best players is that they are better at identifying these situations, and they typically already have a few strategies to overcome them. The spreadsheet, yes, for sure, AG Magic. The limited one, I am. So I'm making essentially everything available. The learning resources are available, which is probably the type that the spreadsheet that you're referring to. These articles collections, it's also available under the command articles. So let me. So this is also available. You have in there the links for the video recordings that I post on YouTube, if you're interested, and the limited will also be available, so no worries there. So where were we? Yes, the best players at Magic, and the ones that are consistently good at the game, and consistency, as we were discussing, it's virtually the only weapon that you have to fight variance, right? They have a series of strategies to cope with these situations. They are very good at identifying them and at coping with them, right? And in other situations you can only mask it, but that's also important, because if your opponent feels like you're tilting, it's easier to like push the advantage, and they might actually concede. I think it was Party Zeke who mentioned the situation. Yes, he was the one. He mentioned the situation where the opponent conceded, but they actually did not lose that in that moment of time. There's if they are tilting in some way, and I'm not saying that Party Zeke pushed the advantage, but maybe he did. If he did, he did correctly, I believe, because Magic is a strategy game, and you have several resources, right? In Arena you have the timer. That's something that you don't have in paper, but in paper you are facing your opponent, right? And there's a lot more visually, a lot more information besides the battlefield. So that's also important to consider. Again, we already listed some of these. There's a lot of situations that might take you to a state of tilt, but there are a lot of aspects of Magic that actually can you determine if you win or lose, that are beyond your control. Those are circumstances, as we were discussing. Recognizing when you're tilted. So this is like the first step. Knowing is half the battle. There's this saying, let me just check if I did not miss anything. No, I did not. And there's a lot to unpack in this sentence, actually, because the thing about dealing with tilt, it's like it's very similar actually to meditation. I'm not sure if anyone over chat ever meditated or for a long haul. Like there's a ton of apps for your phone that you can try, and they have these self-guided meditations. That's actually what I use. I find it really, really interesting. But there are a few concepts that are common to every one of the most well-known methods, I guess, which is the trick is to first understand that feelings are ephemeral, so they come and go, and they are not that relevant for the grand scheme of things. If you feel like you're angry at something, you might actually drop completely that feeling if you don't keep on ruminating on it, if you don't keep on feeding it, right? If you at some point you stop and you think, oh, I'm feeling angry, so interesting. This might seem a bit stupid, actually. It might seem a bit dumb, but it really works. Once you recognize the feeling and you let it flow through instead of grasping it and getting in the way of it leaving, you're doing yourself a disservice. Once you understand that, you let it flow, you are able to get back to the present, like refreshed, and that the present is actually the only reality that is. This is seeming like a philosophy stream right now, but philosophy, psychology, magic, all those disciplines come together here, I guess. So you get yourself back to the present. A good strategy to go through this process is like breathing in through your nose, breathing out through your mouth in long respirations. Okay. And you do this like for 10 times or whatever, and you think about this loop, these 3 stages, and you will actually notice that you are better, and you become better the more times you practice these kind of things. It's related to this. It's there's an interesting quote from Mahatma Gandhi, which I use a lot. I told it to AG Magic during one of his streams. It's I never lose, I either win or learn, right? So you understand, from you understanding that even though things are not working well for you, if you look at it as an opportunity to learn instead of okay, I'm just gonna lose, I'm no good, I never get lucky. So all those, if you replace that kind of mindset by I will learn from this, you become better, which is related to growth mindset. So moving on, tilt, of course, it has several impacts. So one of them is obvious. It's like, hey, Partizik, welcome. Partiziki, sorry. How are you doing? We were just now mentioning you, how you oh yeah, because you the situation that you mentioned, that your opponent conceded on a game that they did not lose, right? But well, today we're reviewing an article around tilting. Probably you're already very good at dealing with tilting with your positivity and all that, but at least for me this is quite helpful. So yeah, one of the impacts. Well, you work out. Damn. That's cool. Their ability to think clearly and make the strongest decisions is compromised. So this is one of the impacts of getting tilted. You stop thinking clearly, so your gameplay gets hindered by it. And then there's this one thing is identifying that you're tilting. Another thing is what kind of response do you have to that moment when you identify the tilting. If you simply take the feeling, take the moment, and put in the bucket of oh, there was nothing I could do, you're rationalizing your losses as unlucky moments, essentially. So you're attributing all of it to variance. That's actually not the right approach, right? We were discussing about circumstances and problems. Something really critical is to understand which are which. Sometimes in Magic that's hard, so you need to, when doing a retrospective, it's helpful, and you see that from time to time when we review the draft logs. You should try to understand if your decision was correct based on the information that you had at the moment. That's very important. Yeah, and this is actually, I heard it somewhere recently that, like, at some point when Reed Duke won like a big championship or whatever, all his friends were going for dinner, but he went to the bathroom and went over all his games and to try to pinpoint and to identify every mistake that he did so that he could improve. And being courageous to even if you win, either if you win or you lose, that's actually just a part of the signal that you get from a game. There's a lot more things that you can do. So being courageous to look back and to understand what you did right, what you did wrong, and why being courageous. Because sometimes it's just easier to say, "Oh, Diogo, you did all you could. You did fine." That's not really growth mindset. You're not growing from that moment. You're just making it easier for you, and that's not the best thing you can do. And then the author, since he played Magic for like 20 years competitively, there's an interesting aspect on tilting that he presents, which is even, and this is like, I will quote, "Even the worst bad beats or misplays eventually fade away into the static of the present and future." So in the grand scheme of things, you might be tilting about a specific game. To be honest, it won't matter. In the long run, it won't matter. And he mentions that a bit below. He never looked back, and I guess that's the same situation for you, at least typically. He never looked back and, oh, I was totally justified for tilting in that game. No, that's it's much more likely that he feels something, and you feel something like, "I can't believe I was so upset about losing a close Magic card game match 10 years ago." Because after a while, it's like these bad feelings that tilting feeds itself on and tilting feeds those feelings too. They will compromise a lot of things, not only your gameplay but also your enjoyment of the game. And actually enjoying the game is typically more important than whatever else. Those are the things that you keep with yourself, right? So I have yeah, exactly. So it's still important to achieve for a better version of yourself and to work towards that goal. But understand that if you have some step backs, those are fine. Those will happen. You just need to push through them. Again, when you face variance, it's all about consistency. Okay? of course, these kind of situations dissolve into meaninglessness. Jesus, English sometimes it's okay. I cannot complain because Portuguese is not better. And something interesting to also like one of the tools that you might have on your pocket for these tilting moments is like put yourself in on the perspective of your future self, and this is a useful strategy for many other things. But for this kind of strategy, you will put yourself in like 10 years time or whatever, and you might not actually be playing Magic. You might have actually made top 8 afterwards, but you because you kept at it. So there's a lot of things that might happen, and if you find it difficult to put yourself on your shoes 10 years from now, just look back 10 years and see how much your priorities changed, how much your life changed. So a lot. This kind of perspective can help a lot in understanding how big or how small these kind of issues are. Actually, I recalled something else, but whatever. So again, besides tilting, making you give up equity on gameplay quality and on your chances to winning a game, it actually also detracts you from personal enjoyment, which is, hey, you're safe, thank you, you're handsome too, you're very handsome, and your dishes are really tasty too, or I imagine they are tasty, at least my eyes tell me so. So thank you. So yeah. Again, and there are these recurring topics, right? You understanding the difference between the things that you can influence and cannot influence, so circumstances versus problems, and avoiding tilting might lead you to, again, oh, what a waste of a fun weekend, because I just spent it feeling tilted. That's feeling bad, feeling frustrated. That's no fun. So develop your strategies, because tilting or fighting against tilt can maximize the fun, the objectivity, and the results that you get from Magic. And yeah, I have here the note that as parties. You should also check out Partiziki's stream, because he's always on a positive vibe, and is actually starting to give some like shepherding to people, not only on Magic strategy and all of that, but also like built into that positivity. So that's a nice streamer to look at if you want to see a good way to look at Magic, I would say. So to summarize, essentially 3 key strategies. We discussed several others across the article. Don't beat yourself up too much over games lost. Magic is a game of variance, again. Learn from mistakes and be objective about what you could do and you couldn't do to win a match. And these are easily summarized in like these 3 mental models that you can try to have present. Sometimes I even write this kind of stuff in a post-it and keep near my desk, so that I look at them several times per day, increasing the chance that I look at them when I feel tilted or when I feel frustrated, generally speaking. So understand variance, okay? You will lose, you will win, that's life, that's Magic. Growth mindset, keep yourself in a mindset that is prone to learning. So you should feel like you should be humble. If you're not humble with your skills and with others, you cut the possibilities for learning. And the concept about around problems versus circumstances. Let me just check because my music stopped. Okay, there you go. Again, because Magic can bring you personal improvement, learning and winning. So you should, if you want to maximize for that, it is definitely useful to reduce the bad effects of tilting. I truly hope that you learned something from the article today, because I sure did. So if you want to find the link for it, it is in the About section just below the video. If you enjoyed this kind of content, make sure to leave a like, to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you know when the next one comes up. Also, let me know in the comment section down below what are you working on or what do you want to work on to take your game to the next level. I also stream on Twitch, so if you want to interact with me live, head over to twitch.tv/DiogoJaPinto. We're building a truly awesome community in there, and we would love to have you around. Thank you for joining, and see you next time. Planeswalking out!